My husband James shouted out mockingly from the driver's seat, "Take a nice walk," and his family laughed with him. I stood there in shock, one hand on my 8-month-old, after I exposed their brutality and prompted an FBI investigation and changed the law. Pregnant tummy as their luxury SUV drove away from the far-off gas station. The Florida sun was scorching, and I watched as their taillights vanished as they left for their beach resort vacation without me. My name is Kayla Thompson, and up until that point, I believed I understood what it felt like to be betrayed. But seeing my 3-year-old husband desert his pregnant wife at a remote gas station was an entirely new level of cruelty. His mother, Diana, and sister Ashley were in the back seat, and I could still see their smug expressions as they drove away. It had begun as a routine bathroom break during our on-a-road trip to Daytona Beach. I asked James to wait while I went to the bathroom because I was having trouble walking in my 3rd trimester. When I emerged, I saw that they were all laughing and pointing at me through the car windows. Before I could get to the car, they left, leaving me stranded and I've got security cameras covering the whole property. The gas station owner, Tom, an elderly man with gentle eyes, said in a tight voice as he witnessed the entire incident, "What they did is not fair. My phone, purse, and everything else were in the car, leaving me stranded with nothing but the sundress I was wearing." Tom's wife, Barbara, who assisted in running the store, brought me some water and crackers while I sat in his tiny office, trying to process what had just happened. Uncalling the local, what kind of man abandons his pregnant wife stranded while his family laughs about it? This is wrong. I should have felt ashamed or tried to stop her, but instead I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. Barbara said, her face flushed with righteous anger. "People need to see this. News show the world just what a man James Wilson was." As I rubbed my swollen belly and felt my baby girl kick, I realized that this was about more than just me anymore. It was about shielding my daughter from a family that found cruelty funny. Looking back, there had been warning signs about James, and James seemed different from his family when we first met at a charity gala 3 years ago. He was a corporate executive at Florida Values Insurance, a company that took pride in traditional family values. I was a kindergarten teacher who loved what I did. Having kids, we fell in love fast, and in spite of his family's tacit opposition, we were married within a year. Diana, my mother-in-law, was the head of the renowned Wilson Family Foundation, which hosted well-known charity events in Jacksonville. She never failed to remind me that I didn't quite fit in with their social circle, and it's wonderful that you work with kids, she would say in a condescending tone. However, I always thought James would marry someone more successful, Ashley. James's sister was much worse. She had planned numerous social events intended to embarrassing me, such as when she asked me to a casual lunch that was actually a formal charity board meeting, leaving me embarrassed in my plain sundress in front of women wearing expensive suits. "Oh, I must have forgotten to mention the dress code," she smirked. But James had always stood up for me, at least when I became pregnant. Everything changed. It seemed like a switch had been flipped in him, and he began to agree with his mother's criticism, laugh at his sister's cruel jokes, and treat me like an embarrassment. Tom's voice brought me back to the present, and the news crew will arrive in approximately an hour. Checking his phone, he said, "I have the security footage ready, and it shows everything clear as day." Barbara handed me another bottle of water. "Your hands are shaking, dear. When was the last time you ate?" I realized I missed lunch. He was caught up in the excitement of the trip, which was supposed to be our own. James had insisted that his family join us on our last vacation before the baby was born, saying it would help them bond as a family. I should have realized something was wrong when he made me sit in the back seat so his mother could sit up front. Senny explained that it was because she gets carsick. I said this quietly, but they were whispering, and my nephew works at Channel 7 News, so trust me when I say that this story won't remain silent. While I waited for the news crew, I called my best friend Nicole on Tom's phone because she had never trusted James or his employees. They weren't smiling the entire time. Barbara's expression hardened. Family, especially after what transpired at my baby shower last month. "Kayla, thank God you're okay," Nicole replied. "Now, we need to check what they're posting on social media." Tom turned his computer monitor in my direction and logged into Facebook. James's page had a number of pictures that had been posted just 20 minutes ago. My palms trembled when I saw the text. "Finally free for a relaxing family vacation. Some people just can't handle the Wilson lifestyle. Shark beach life, Shark family first." The picture had Ashley and James Diana reclining by the resort pool with cocktails in hand, acting like the air's more Nicole observed sadly. Diana's foundation just announced a fundraiser for family values and responsibility next week. The hypocrisy is unreal. There was nothing wrong with it. Their social circle congratulated them on their escape and poured in comments, all of them laughing. As James's SUV purposefully moved away, I saw myself leaving the toilet with my pregnant tummy visible on his other monitor, while Tom's surveillance camera played. The sound was loud enough to hear their giggling. "Toes aren't people," Barbara murmured as she viewed the footage. "Monsters." My phone was still in the car, and my hospital bag was packed meticulously with everything I would need because I was almost due. The idea that they hadn't just left me, but had purposefully put my kid in danger, struck me hard. Barbara, I felt a searing pain in my tummy, noticed right away and grabbed my hand, asking if I was having contractions. I told her that it wasn't, Braxton Hicks, but then I felt another pain that made me gasp. Unleashed, I believe they are Tom, who was already on the phone with emergency services. "Better safe than sorry," he said, adding that the closest hospital was 40 minutes away. It was as if he was on a local news van. As I pulled into the parking lot, the reporter, Jennifer Parker, took one look at my condition and decided to take me to the hospital first. "Current," she said firmly, "when I can do the interview there. This story isn't just about abandonment anymore. It's about putting an unborn child in danger." My hands trembled as another contraction struck, this one more intense than the last. "When a doctor will take good care of you," Jennifer reassured me, holding my hand as they drove. As they helped me into the news van, I noticed additional media cars arriving. Apparently, the story had already attracted attention, and we'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of people the Wilsons really are. As I looked out the window at the media circus that was assembling, I understood that this was much more than just me. Sometimes the most difficult situations in life bring about unexpected justice. When my contractions stopped, the doctor said it was false labor caused by stress, but they wanted to keep me overnight for observation. By evening, the security footage from the gas station had surfaced, and the hospital's maternity ward had become the unexpected headquarters for what was rapidly becoming a viral news story. Nicole brought my phone to me after getting it from the resort where James and his family were staying. I was ready to respond when it lit up. "Mrs. Wilson," a nurse remarked, sticking her head into my room, "more reporters were requesting to talk with you. Should I send them away?" When we were interviewing Diana at the resort, the nurse assisted me in locating the appropriate channel. My mother-in-law was perfectly coiffed in her upscale resort. A staff member had discovered it in their room while they were there, and after learning of the news, she reached out to help Kayla turn on Channel 7. Nicole now urged her voice urgently. Diana politely told the reporter, "Kayla has been very emotional lately due to pregnancy hormones. You understand she asked for some time alone, and we respected her wishes. He wasn't buying it, and we have security footage showing your son and your family was laughing as you drove off, and Mrs. Thompson was 8 months pregnant in 95-degree heat with no phone or purse. How can you explain that Diana's calm exterior cracked a little and the video must be deceptive? Our family foundation has always stood for traditional values." The feed switched to the security footage that showed. As they laughed, their SUV pulled away. The audio was crystal clear. James's mocking voice rang out, "Take a nice walk." My phone began buzzing with notifications. The Wilson Family Foundation's social media pages were inundated with angry comments, and their principal donors were publicly withdrawing their support. Florida Values Insurance was trending on Twitter. "Your story has gone national," Jennifer Parker remarked as she and her camera crew entered my room. "People are angry. Want to make a statement?" I considered other women who would be stuck in situations with people like James and his family, who were likely still relaxing by the pool, believing they were untouchable. "Yes," I said, sitting up straighter in the hospital bed. "Son, I want to talk about what happened." The I talked about how James's behavior had changed during my pregnancy, and how his family had planned this trip to make me look bad. I also mentioned the baby bag containing my medical records that they had taken away, demonstrating their lack of concern for my child's safety. The interview was candid and unvarnished. The CEO of James's company issued a statement expressing their deep concern over the incident and their intention to review the situation. "Mrs. Thompson," Jennifer said gently, "Oh sure, the story has struck a nerve." James's co-workers were publicly distancing themselves. Comparable experiences of emotional abuse and desertion. "You've initiated a movement." I put my hand on my stomach and felt my daughter kick. "I'm not doing this for retribution," I told the camera. "I'm doing this because no one should have to go through what I went through today, and my baby needs to know that her mom stood up to bullies even if they were family." By morning, the story had gone viral. Tom, the owner of the gas station, appeared on a national morning show and revealed that his security cameras had recorded a disturbing conversation in addition to the abandonment before I'd come out of the bathroom, and they were planning it. Tom told millions of viewers. The mother-in-law was heard on the audio saying, "This will teach her to embarrass our family." They were laughing about abandoning a pregnant woman who was stranded. Who does that? Nicole hurried. She brought her tablet to my hospital room, her face flushed with news, saying, "Kayla, you must see this." Someone leaked emails from Diana's foundation. The emails showed me internal Wilson family charity conversations, which exposed a planned effort to keep me away from James with Diana. The real bombshell came from Ashley's leaked texts to James Hunt's, who stated explicitly that a pregnant kindergarten teacher wasn't Wilson material. The baby's birth will give them grounds to argue that Ashley is an unfit mother. Your position at Florida Values Insurance and your connections with Mom's Foundation made. In addition to embarrassing me, they had been plotting to remove my kid. And Mrs. Thompson, a man in a suit, showed up at my door and introduced himself as Michael Roberts, Florida Values Insurance's top ethical officer. "Could I speak with someone about this? We've dismissed James's employment effective immediately. Our organization cannot be linked with someone who would intentionally plan to take a mother from her kid and put a pregnant woman in danger." He handed me a folder after Nicole left. "We're handing everything over to your legal team." These are screenshots from James's company email that demonstrate how he used corporate resources to look up custody attorneys that specialize in maternal fitness issues. My palm trembled as I read the paperwork. James had been creating the foundation for months. James has a history of workplace harassment, which the AUHR department found out about. A number of female colleagues have recently come forward with accusations they were previously hesitant to voice because of every little mistake I made with the intention of using my emotional instability against me. To file. "This is more than just your case, Mrs. Thompson. You've shown a systemic issue." When he departed, Jennifer Parker came back with shocking information. Diana's biggest charity partners had severed their connections with the Wilson family foundation in public. The premier country club where they hosted their social gatherings had asked them to leave after rescinding their membership. Their carefully planned world of influence was collapsing, and Jennifer reported that Vice guests were complaining about having to share space with those awful people from the news. As we speak, my phone buzzed with a message and I saved the dash cam footage from James's company car, which was from an unknown number. He and his mother had been planning this for weeks, and I couldn't keep quiet any longer. I watched the media crews assembling outside my hospital window, reflecting on how swiftly the truth can reveal that the Wilsons had plotted to ruin me, but their own actions had destroyed themselves instead. The following day, James's former executive assistant Amanda arrived unexpectedly, holding a thick folder and appearing anxious. "I can't keep quiet anymore," she said, nestling into the chair next to my hospital bed and custody plan. There was a lot of money involved. It wasn't just about having the baby. Amanda scattered papers on my bed, and financial statements and insurance policies and trust fund papers painted a troubling picture of James and his family taking out multiple policies related to my pregnancy, including a sizable life insurance policy that I was unaware of when they intended to portray you as unstable, Amanda said, her voice trembling. And the abandonment wasn't just cruelty. It was intended to cause a stress response that they could record if you had given birth at that gas station. Jennifer Parker arrived as we were going over the records, and the implications made me feel sick. Nicole, who had been listening silently, stepped out when it was time to report this to the FBI. "This isn't simply a viral news story anymore. It's an attempted insurance fraud. We must be careful how we handle this," she advised. When a Wilson still has powerful friends, they're already trying to spin this as a publicity stunt. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a notification that Diana had posted a video statement on the foundation's website. Tears streamed down her perfectly up face. "Oh, we never meant to harm our grandchild," she said, adding that Kayla's unpredictable actions caused us great worry. James himself said, "After talking with Jennifer and Amanda, I put it on speaker, Kayla, baby, please." And the video ended as another call came in. "You're right, James. She needs her father, but not one who would jeopardize her life for financial gain." I considered the insurance policies, custody plans, and calculated cruelty. Honey, sweetie, this has all gotten out of control. Let's have a private conversation and work things out. Plan Kane Place, what are you talking about? His voice became abrasive. Kayla, be careful what you say. James, remember who you dealt with. A kindergarten teacher who is adept at documenting everything, who has seen security footage, and now your own paper trail, which has the national. When he spoke again, the faux kindness vanished. Count, you'll regret this, he said, because the media is watching every move you make. Check your phone when your family is done. The FBI just announced an investigation into the foundation's finances. She sent them a number of extremely intriguing documents, and Amanda grimly grinned as she ended her own call. The federal agents had just arrived at the motel where they were staying, she reported, and the insurance company's fraud division was fully cooperating. I rubbed my stomach and felt my daughter kick hard, and I realized that she was going to. The moment the FBI led Diana out of the motel in handcuffs, her expertly constructed image collapsing as she faced the consequences of her actions, was captured by Jennifer's camera crew. Growing up knowing her mother stood up to bullies, I said softly, is worth more than any trust fund. Sometimes justice arrives unexpectedly. A week later, I was sitting in my hospital room holding my newborn daughter, Lily, who had chosen to arrive 2 weeks early. She was healthy and gorgeous, and the TV on the wall was showing the Wilson family's collapse. Federal investigators have discovered a pattern in the breaking news. The presenter revealed that the attempted exploitation of a pregnant woman was only the beginning of the insurance fraud at the Wilson Family Foundation. The video then turned to James being handcuffed out of his lawyer's office. James was no longer the polished businessman, but a desperate guy facing federal charges included the dissolution of Diana's foundation, the freezing of its assets, and the overnight disappearance of Ashley's social connections. Tom and Barbara from the gas station gave flowers and a card that read, "Ones, your daughter has a strong mother. That's worth more than any fancy family name." Nicole assisted me. As we watched James Wilson's CEO make a statement, we adjusted Lily's blanket. Florida Values Insurance is creating a fund for victims of financial abuse and domestic manipulation. The seed money comes from the bonus we took from James Wilson after his termination. I gazed down at Lily sleeping. She would grow up in my arms, quietly, knowing the strength of her mother rather than the harshness of her father. Sometimes the finest retaliation isn't about getting even, but rather about overcoming the past and creating something greater out of the ashes. 3 months later, I returned to my kindergarten classroom and was met by, on my desk, I had a framed newspaper article about a gas station abandonment case that resulted in a new state law. The Thompson Protection Act made it illegal to willfully leave a pregnant woman in hazardous conditions, including Diana's crocodile. I also had supportive parents and an administration that had supported me during the ordeal. The court, which emphasized her planned cruelty in imposing a 5-year term for insurance fraud, was unmoved by tears at her sentencing. James and Ashley both suffered similar outcomes for their roles in the conspiracy. My narrative had become a catalyst for change, and Florida Values Insurance had engaged me as I received numerous invitations to speak at law enforcement training sessions, business ethics panels, and women's groups as a consultant for their new family protection efforts. But my best moments were still in my classroom, where I taught my young kids about compassion and confronting bullies. Lily flourished in the love of my real family, Nicole, who became her godmother, Tom and Barbara, who came to visit frequently, and the innumerable strangers who became allies. The Wilson family's social media accounts remained silent. Their once powerful influence diminished to a warning story. Recall that I told a reporter who questioned about my message to others, which is that sometimes our greatest strength comes from our darkest moments. Lily will grow up knowing that her mother did more than simply survive. She helped alter the situation for the